Great, thank you guys for being willing to meet. We've just been looking for ways to try to highlight that this child tax credit is there, first of all. And, you know, it didn't just happen randomly, like we thought through this, it was deliberate, there's reasons for it. And I want folks to know whether and how it's helping. And so, folks at Northwest were nice enough to arrange this, and I guess recruit you guys. So, but I want to get the word out to everybody that this is not just some random COVID-related thing, but we want it to be permanent. We want it to be part of our country's family policy approach to family forever, just like Social Security. You know, decades ago, we had a Great Depression, and Social Security seemed like, you know, we're doing this to ease people's needs in a short-term way, but it turned into something that was a permanent form of what folks expect from their government. So I hope this becomes sort of like that. But tell me your perspective on it.
At first, when I found out about it, I just, you know, was first and foremost extremely appreciative. I think that it's also slightly overwhelming just with everything that we have going on, you know, with COVID, and we're still dealing with the repercussions of that, and, you know, the stimulus. I think that first and foremost, I wanted to make sure that I thoroughly understood what this child tax credit was, what it would mean for me and my family, being since that I'm, you know, I'm a single parent, and I don't receive, you know, any financial stability or help from her father. So I wanted to make sure that I really got a full understanding of what the child tax credit was. And I think that after doing a little bit of research and really better understanding it, I was more comfortable with the situation, more comfortable knowing, you know, what are the benefits? Are there any repercussions?
Right.
And, you know, just being since COVID happened, and especially being since I'm in the restaurant industry, my finances got hit extremely hard.
You're a bartender?
I manage a restaurant.
You manage a restaurant? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So my finances got hit, you know, exponentially, and it hurt my family. And I think that one of the things I think I appreciate most about this is not the money in itself, but the way that it's distributed.
Right.
I think that the struggle is monthly. So tackling that monthly struggle instead of, you know, just it being a lump sum like the stimulus.
Right.
I think that budgeting wise, you know, bill wise, that really is what, you know, I focused on, is that getting those monthly payments for me is just aiding and helping the solution to my monthly problem.
Right.
And I think that also it's important to acknowledge that I have the choice. I have the choice of getting the lump sum. I have the choice of continuously accepting these monthly payments, or I have the choice of opting out.
Right.
I think that leaving it in our hands is extremely powerful, and it's nice that I have the choice.
That's how we designed it. And so it's a tax credit. Like normally with a tax credit, you get it once a year, right? April 15th, you're filing your taxes, and it's a nice thing to have at that point. But the problem with the normal tax credit is, again, it's just that once a year. It's not helping you monthly. And number two, it may not be fully refundable, right? So if at the end of the day you don't actually owe any taxes, and you have a tough year, you're actually not getting anything. Whereas somebody making $150,000 a year and is owing taxes gets the full credit, right? So the way the child tax credit worked in the past, people at upper middle income levels actually ended up getting more than somebody who's struggling at $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, which make absolutely no sense, right? So what we decided to do is, number one, make it fully refundable. So everybody, at least up to a certain income, gets the same amount. And then, as you're saying, give people that option and do it as easily as possible, right, to make it monthly so you can expect it. And it can help ease those monthly burdens. So you have one child, right?
Yes, correct.
Daughter?
Yes.
How old is she?
She's 3.
She's 3? Okay, great. And you?
Miss Laura did a wonderful job. We're doing opposites. So I am a mother of 4. I have 2 adults though, and then I have twins that are 5 years old.
Okay.
So I have 2 children.
Mm-hmm. 2 qualifying children.
2 qualifying children for the program, yes. My situation is very different from Miss Jessica. Jessica, right?
Yes.
Okay. I worked throughout the entire pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was considered an essential employee.
Okay.
So I'm very fortunate for that. In which case it was very dangerous, of course, with having 2 little ones at home and being a single mom as well.
Yeah.
I feel as if when that I was not given the option
Mm-hmm.
of a lump sum, of like an advancement of a lump sum, because that, to my understanding, was taken away. Like parents weren't allowed to opt in for a lump sum of the advanced part. The only way you get a lump sum is if you do it at tax time.
At the end, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
But before they were teetering about doing a lump sum for an advancement.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have benefited from that part because expenses and things increased throughout pandemic with children being at home and having family members to come care for them at home so that they're not out in COVID like mom.
Right.
So the lump sum would have been beneficial for me to help me get down that light bill, get more extra, like extra food, toiletries, things like that, to be able to catch up with rent and things like that if I slack behind trying to take care of another thing, because I do live paycheck to paycheck. So when the bills go up, the paycheck's already not enough, so now it's really not enough. But on the flip side, I really appreciate too, and I'm very thankful for the help, because I've never experienced something like this since being a mom. And I won't tell you how old my oldest is, but I've never experienced this. So it's a really big help on a monthly basis, but I just find it really hard to be able to catch up on something with a small amount. So, and overall, I thought I understood it just a little bit when it comes to taxes and things like that. So I agree with you when you say that middle bracket is losing both ways, because they're too much for the earned income, but then they're not enough for the maximum child tax. And if I heard you just say correctly that if you wouldn't owe if say you've collected too much over these months. So like.
So it'd be very hard to collect too much.
Okay.
I mean, from the child tax credit.
Correct.
Yeah. So the only people who are at risk of collecting too much are people who made less than $150,000 last year. So they qualify for it looks like they qualify for the full amount. But then this year, their salary shoots up and they're making more than, I'm not worried about those people. And even they're not going to be overpaying that much, because remember, we're starting it in July. So people are only getting 6 months of the $300. I assume you're getting $300 for the 5-year-olds.
Yes, 300 per child.
Per child.
Yes.
So you'd only be getting 6 of those payments, and then you'd get a lump sum basically for at the end of the year for the $1,500.
For the remaining
For the
1,500,
remaining
correct?
$1,500.
Yes.
That's right, per child. So very hard to imagine anybody overpaying just for these 6 months, unless they won the lottery during the year.
Okay.
And you know what? Whatever.
Right.
I'm not losing sleep over anyone in that category. So I think you're okay. Now that said, I don't know. There may be some complicated circumstances I'm not thinking of. But that's why we give people the option of opting out if they want, right? So if you want to wait until tax time and just figure it all out, that's an option that people do have. But I'm guessing most people.
So what happens with the families who are not required to complete, like to do taxes?
They may still get the credit. That's what it means to be fully refundable.
That's good.
So even if you owe no taxes, it's exactly the same. There will be families who, because they're not required to pay taxes, they're not in the IRS system. So the IRS doesn't necessarily know how to get them the check, but that's why they set up this portal to allow those people to register. It was the same with the stimulus.
It's the same with stimulus, yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You could sign up, and I think just like anything with the IRS, it's probably more complicated than it needs to be, and the website, it's not in Spanish yet or other languages, and it could be a little bit more user-friendly. But then, that's where we help each other. And you guys, I'm sure, are trying to provide
Yeah,
that
that's what I
help.
do every day.
And my office provides that help for people who ask. So, if you know anybody who seems confused by it, there's always going to be help for that person, because you want to make sure that money goes out.
So the confusion also on my end is if this is made to be an added help, why are we using it as an advancement? Like, why wouldn't it just be an added help?
Why not just do the full amount up front, in other words?
Yeah, or maybe not have to say reduce, so to where it doesn't affect your, say, your income taxes.
Well, it
tax
won't
side.
affect the income tax that you owe in any way.
Right, no, I mean like the refund part.
I'm not sure if I understand.
So in normalcy, I'll just take me for an example, because I don't, because I'm at that income bracket where I would have received the entire child tax credit for each child.
Right.
And now it would be reduced because I received some payments over the first couple of months.
So basically, you're just getting a larger child tax credit than you would have before.
Okay,
That's the
so that
difference.
amount didn't change.
So that amount was increased, basically. In other words, you're getting now $3,000 per child, whereas before you would have gotten less than that. And you're getting the payments in advance, whereas before you would have to wait until tax time. And this may or may not apply to you, it's fully refundable, right? So let's say in your case it's $6,000 because you have 2 kids,
Mhm.
right? So in the past, if you had owed, let's say you had a $6,000 credit, but if you only owed $4,000 in taxes, then you wouldn't get the full $6,000 credit, right? It would only be $4,000, and it would wipe it. You wouldn't owe any taxes, but you wouldn't get a check back from the government for $2,000. But now you're going to get $6,000 no matter how much you owe in taxes. See what I
Oh,
mean?
okay. Now you have given me clarity.
Okay.
That's
So-
impressive.
I was confused.
If you only owe $10 in taxes, right? If you work it all out, you didn't make much money last year.
You're still getting your 6.
You're still getting your 6. That's what it means to be fully refundable,
Understood now.
right?
Thank you.
Okay,
Because that was a huge confusion
okay,
amongst the community, myself,
yes.
I'm sure Jessica.
Yeah.
So that
So that's the 3 good things. 1, it's bigger. 2, it's fully refundable, so you will always get that amount no matter your income, no matter.
Because before you did not.
That's right. And 3, you get these advance monthly payments. And I get it, it would be maybe even nicer if you can get the whole lump sum at the beginning. But at least you're getting monthly, something that normally you would have to wait until next April to get, right? So that's the idea. And what we hope, as I said, is that we make this permanent. Right? So it just becomes a normal expectation for any family with children in America that every month we're going to get this little allowance to help with all the extra expenses.
So I have a quick question for
Sure.
you. So, and I keep asking all these different random questions because I am a community servant and I want to make sure that I have the correct answers for you. So, a family who has no income and receiving the child tax benefit, the advancement, at tax time, say they have 1 child, at tax time, if they prepare their taxes, they automatically get $1,500.
Oh, for the
For
6
the-
months.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
remaining 6 months,
Uh,
like for the balance of the 3,000.
Is that, Michelle, now, is it at the end of this December, or is it a tax time?
Sorry, I was.
So like,
The balance, so let's say it's $3,000 for the year, right? So you would get $1,500 in 6 monthly payments, right? And then you're still owed $1,500 for the first 6 months of this year. Does that come in December in one lump sum, or?
Let me
of
just
your
confirm
taxes?
that, because I don't want to give you misinformation, so let me just
I
confirm.
think they're just gonna get it to you in,
so like if I normally wouldn't do taxes, how would I be able to acquire that extra $1,500?
so, again, I think it comes to you automatically. We're gonna figure this out.
Okay.
This is my understanding from the seminar that we did with IRS.
When they file,
Or do you have to file at that point?
yes, it says, families will get the remaining expended child tax credit when they file 2021 tax return.
Okay, so they
So-
don't have to file.
Okay, so, okay.
And again, lots of resources in the community put in here to help people with that process. And I imagine for families in that situation, it would be the simplest kind of tax return, right?
Correct.
Yeah, one page, easy. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's the long and the short of it. Can you say a little bit about some of the why is this necessary in your life? Not so much to convince me, but because we have
Yeah,
someone
sure.
who will be writing down your
Yeah,
story.
sure,
for you.
sure.
Like, what are the types of expenses, particularly in the last year, that have become?
Yeah, so for me, food is definitely a necessity that has increased drastically. And with great, agencies like the one that I work for in the West Cap, being in the area, we're able to supply food to families and things like that. So it minimizes what the families have to purchase. So for me, food is a necessity. My utilities have increased drastically with the children being home. Childcare has increased because they're not at the age where they were completely free. I still have co-pays and things like that. So that, and then with the extended hours and things like that, that I do work, I pay my childcare provider a little extra. So it also helps with things to do at home. So that might sound a little crazy, but because they didn't spend a lot of time at home before, when they are home, we do games because we're not going outside anymore. We tend to do, I don't have cable or anything. I have the internet because it was a necessity for school. So it would help me to pay that later. They've now implemented this program where they help me pay that too. So these are some of the things that I plan to spend the money on to kind of get our way of living back to the way that it was.
Have you had any difficulties finding childcare? I know there's
I've been very fortunate. I have an in-home provider, and she rocks. So she closed maybe 2 weeks, if that, and maybe another time for some children feeling under the weather and things like that. But for the most part, nope, she's been up and running.
So you use a registered family provider?
A registered child care provider, in-home provider, yes. Yep.
Okay.
She's registered through West Cap, and she's awesome. So I did not run into a child care issue.
Okay. And Jessica, how about you?
Well, first and foremost, it's been hard. It's definitely been hard lately, financially, especially being since I'm not getting that same income that I have been receiving. And for me, I mean, it's like you mentioned, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I literally budget every dollar that I have. So this money is helping drastically. Even if it was $50 a month, that would help me drastically. I think that right now, since I do have a 3-year-old, and the only way I'd be able to even work and support my family is through daycare. If it was not for Nora Westcott, she would not be in daycare. I don't even think I'd be able to work. I wouldn't be able to support my family. I don't even know where I would be right now. So I am so grateful for this program. Words can't even express that. So, and it's, it's still a lot financially, since I'm a single parent, $200 a week just for daycare is a lot. And I know the importance of, early stimulation. So I wanted her in a good daycare facility. So that's really one of my most, largest financial burdens. Obviously living expenses have been tough lately. And it makes me so sad because I worked so many hours to try to make up for what happened with COVID that I'm thankful enough I get to wake my daughter up in the morning, and I'm thankful enough I get to put her to sleep at night. Other than that, I have maybe 1 or 2 days with my daughter just because I have no other choice. Like you said, utilities, since a lot more people are home right now, more people were home before. Medical expenses, my daughter is very, very, very sensitive. She has a lot of skin allergies, so medical expenses are not easy. Thank God I get some help provided through the state. Even things like clothing. She's sprouting, she's growing fast, and even things down to clothing. I was even thinking before I came in here, and certain things I had to limit. What if she needed a certain outfit for school? What if she needed water shoes because it's water play and I couldn't get it? Maybe this 300, like the extra advancement, I can now budget that in with my payments, with my bills, and actually make certain things happen. Maybe we can go out to dinner one night and I can treat her. So this is really, it's huge for me. I do the best that I can to make sure my daughter is well taken care of, because first and foremost, it's about her. I go without getting clothing for myself. I go without, necessities that I want. For me, I don't have wants. For me, it's just needs. And for my daughter, I try the best I can to make sure that she has what she needs in life and a few things that she wants, and we just try to live as happy as possible. So
I think this is so important right now, Walter, that there is this myth out there that this kind of support enables people not to work, when in fact, without the support, people could not work.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In part, childcare is probably the most obvious reason why that's the case. How can you possibly go out to manage a restaurant, right, or to have any job if you have a 3 or 5-year-old child at home, you're a single parent, and you can't afford childcare?
It's just not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not
Right.
possible.
And so, and the reason this is an issue right now is because there's now a labor shortage, right? You see every restaurant, you're in the restaurant
It's
business,
been bad.
right? Right?
It's been bad.
And so a lot of small business owners are concerned about this, and there's a lot of blame been put on the enhanced unemployment payments. And that's complicated. There may be some people who, are decided to stay home longer and take that money. I get that. But the bottom line is, if we don't provide basic support for things like child care, nutrition, the basic responsibilities that parents have to their children, we make it impossible for parents to go back to work. And that hurts the whole economy. Not to mention denying people the sense of fulfillment and dignity and responsibility that comes from having a job. And so I think for me that's the most important part of this.
Right. Did you, were you able to work at all during the whole COVID thing, or?
When it first
It's a restaurant, it would
happened,
probably
when
be
it first
difficult, yeah.
happened, no. We were shut down. It was months before we could even start doing takeout, and then the government passed that you could start doing takeout drinks, and I've never seen a restaurant industry that was not fully functioning, and the things we had to do, and it was tough. That's why you see so many small businesses closing. I know so many, sister or brother restaurants that are not existent anymore because of what happened. We were fortunate enough to be able to stay open. We had great support from our community, not to mention through COVID, we really did help our community, with hot meals, and we made sure to, stay in touch with everyone as much as possible. We have very loyal customers. But even like you said, looking for people and finding people now, non-existent. I manage, but I also host, I bartend, I serve, I'll do dishes. You know why? Because I don't have a choice. I have to. I honestly have to. So my workload has been insane. I'm exhausted. I work 11, 12-hour days, and it's intense. It's really intense. And again, because I have to. And I think another thing that's really important to point out is it's not only about the needs now for my daughter and for my family. I mean, schooling, what's going to happen down the road? I don't want my daughter to be in the position that I am. I don't want her to be in a restaurant working 12 hours. I want her to get a good education. I want her to be the best form of her that she could possibly be. And I want more for her than what I'm settling for right now, because I don't know another way out. And I don't, financially, I'm making ends meet, but I need to start thinking about future education for her. I need to start putting a little bit of money away a month for a college fund, or else she's gonna, I mean, it's just, history's gonna repeat itself, and I'll be damned. So that's another thing. It's not about the needs now, it's about her future as well, that I'm trying to plan and prepare for.
And were you able to work during
Yes, I
most of
worked
the pandemic?
Yes, the entire
I imagine
pandemic.
here there's probably a bigger need.
Yeah, yeah. So throughout the entire pandemic, we did everything from bringing medication to families, like from the like Tylenol, stuff like that, food, toiletries. We help with unemployment claims. We help with paperwork for social services. We help with anything you need, child care paperwork, getting families signed up with that, finding child care facilities that were open. So I work with the Family Success Center through North Cap, and it wasn't a day that I wasn't in the office. I think at one point we may have had to close the doors for maybe 2 weeks, but other than that, I was there. And we maintained, safe social distancing as far as the staff inside the office. We did contactless delivery to families. We would deliver it to their homes. So we became like a delivery service. We would do we teamed up with the school district to do the lunch deliveries for a few days at a time for children. So we did everything in our power to make sure everyone else's household was running as comfortable as can be throughout a pandemic that we've never been through before, or some of us have never been through before. So there was not a moment that I had off. There was not a moment that, except when I acquired COVID and then took it home to the kids. So we all had COVID, and it took me down for about a month. But that was January of this year. So I survived throughout the worst part of the pandemic. I guess is when things just took a little shift, but I never stopped working. I never stopped helping families. I never stopped delivering food. We're here if you need us. I've never stopped, and I'm still going, and I'm not going to stop. So as long as I make sure that my family is okay at home, and I make sure all of my families are okay in our community.
You guys both vaccinated?
Yes.
I am not.
You're not, okay.
That's
Okay. Could I ask why?
I told you. So,
I don't want to put too much pressure on you.
No.
It's a
No,
real
no.
question, right?
yeah, no, it's a okay question. I'm not ashamed to answer. I have mixed feelings about the vaccination. To experience what I experienced through COVID, I would take any shot to not get it, because it was really bad. Like, I really thought it was my last days, and that's really crazy to say at my age. But hospital trips, everything, it was a really bad experience. But I've been researching. I've been asking questions to our Board of Health Department. I've been presenting the answers from the questions to the community, promoting it. But I just feel as if I'm afraid. That's the bottom line. So I'm afraid. And because I'm always that 1% to get that side effect
Mhm.
of a medication that you said, no, that's not what happens when you take that medicine.
Yeah.
And then that one, and I mean literally that one. It makes me nervous because I'm always asking someone when I know they've been vaccinated, well, what happened afterwards? Like, how did you feel? And things like that. And it could be because of my autoimmune diseases and things like that, that
We
the
all
side
felt
effects
that.
hit me.
We all felt it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way it works, basically, your body thinks that it's being invaded by COVID, right? And that's the way it's supposed to work, because it then produces the antibodies that will fight back against that virus. It's not actually COVID, it's not hurting you, but your body thinks that that's what's happening. And when you get a fever, that's usually like, it's an immune system response to fight off that invader. So after my second shot, yeah, I felt lousy. You know, for a day, I felt like I had the flu or, I had the fever. And, you get, on top of that, you get a lot of anxiety because everybody is getting sick with this horrible disease. And now, wait, is this the vaccine talking to me? Or did I just get COVID, right? And so on top of the feeling lousy, you have that uncertainty and anxiety. But the thing is, that's exactly the way it's supposed to work. So that's not a bad thing. It's just your immune system reacting to the vaccine in exactly the way it was designed to do. And in a way, when you feel that way, you know it's working, and you're safe. So look, it's a personal choice. Nobody can make you put anything in your body that you don't want to put in your body. But I always encourage people to get it for their own sake, and of course for the community, because you may feel like you're going to be okay because you had it before, right? So that gives you a lot of immunity. But the thing that is a risk to all of us right now is that the virus mutates. It changes in little ways as it spreads to the community. And eventually we're all afraid that it's going to change into something that the vaccine can't protect you against. And then we're going to have to go through this all over again. So I think the reason I always encourage people to get vaccinated is that you don't want to be there for that virus to experiment on, right? And to mutate inside of. Because the more people are vaccinated, the more opportunities the virus has to figure out how to get better and stronger. And eventually, the restaurant gets shut down again.
I actually felt the same way at first.
Yeah.
I was very resistant. I did not want anything to do with it. Medicine to me, it does affect me in negative ways. Even when I have a headache, like I'm like homeopathic girl, I'll whip out some oils, I won't take no Tylenol, okay? My baby's the same.
Right.
But I will say that after a lot of deliberation, and I went back and forth, I can't tell you countless times, I think there's two things that weighed heavily on my head. One is I'm employed in an environment where countless amounts of individuals come in and come out, and come in and come out. It is a revolving door. So that was weighing heavily on my mind. I don't know if these people are vaccinated or not. I don't know what they have. I don't know if they're sick. I don't know what's going on with them. So that was a huge, indication of what are you going to do about this? Is there something you can do about this? I was still very hesitant, still very resistant. And I think that what finally changed my outlook on it is, do the negatives outweigh the positives? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? And after a lot of deliberation, I sat back and forth. Is there going to be side effects? Absolutely. Am I going to feel like crap? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, are those side effects worse than COVID itself? In my personal experience, because I did have COVID, absolutely not. Because I like you said, I was struggling. I could not breathe. I was extremely scared. I remember having to give my daughter a bath, and I was laying on my bathroom floor. I just had no strength. I was extremely weak. So again, you know, it's not fun getting the vaccine. I understand that. I had some pretty, you know, harsh side effects, but those side effects did not even touch the those effects that COVID had on me, had on my body, had on my mind. So I think that that's really what got me to reanalyze the vaccine in itself and kind of pushed me towards maybe it is a good idea.
Yeah.
That's good to hear, thank you.
Yeah.
One question that came up before you got here was, they were asking you about non-filers, people that don't file their taxes regularly. And I know this came up at the Zoom meeting the other day with
Right.
the person from IRS. What is the option for people that don't generally file?
So the best option is to go on that IRS website, the portal that they've set up, and just sign up to get the tax credit. And, you know, people have trouble figuring out how to do that. They can go to organizations like the WestCap, they can come to our office, we can help them through it. The other option is just to file. You know, file next year. But I would say, why wait when you can still not file, start receiving the payments sooner, simply by going on that website. Now, let's say it takes you a little time to do it, figuring it out, or you don't get around to doing it until October or November. You're still, let's say you have one child, age 5, you're still going to get $3,000 in monthly payments. So let's say you only get them in October, November, and December. It'll just be a bigger payment to make up for the fact that you're starting late. They'll still try to get you to $1,500 for that child by the end of December.
Now, I do have another question.
Sure.
So you have a lot of parents that share custody of the children.
There you go.
And, yeah, and so this year might be mom's year where she's collecting the 1,500, and then dad
Next year's
claims
tax.
the children tax time.
So yes, this is actually back to the first question about can you overpay. This is actually probably a more likely scenario where somebody overpays. So the IRS is going to go off of what it knows, which is this tax year, who claims that child as a dependent. So this tax year, dad claims that child as last tax year,
Yeah.
dad claimed the child as a dependent, then he might start receiving those payments automatically now, even though this year it's mom's turn, right? So in that situation, the dad should opt out, and the mom should opt in,
Okay.
right? And if he doesn't do that, because he's like, well, I want to get the money, right? Then he's going to have a big tax bill on April 15th.
Because when mom claims the kid, she's gonna get the full
Because the
3,000.
mom's going to claim the kid, he's not claiming the kid as a dependent, and so he's going to have to basically get back the $1,500 or $3,000 at that point, right? So it's actually in his interest to opt out, to let the IRS know, you know, I'm not entitled to receive these payments this year, and of course for the mom to file. And if they can't work it out between them, then it'll get worked out with tax credit. Unfortunately, there's not a way to compel it, to force it, if the parents aren't cooperating.
Right, so when,
Yeah, but-
so when mom does her taxes at the beginning of the year,
Mhm.
she'll get the full amount, or she'll get the 1,500.
If she waits until she does her taxes,
Yeah.
she'll get the full amount then. If she and her ex can work it out now, basically, she then just opts in through the IRS web portal, and she'll start receiving those monthly payments here. He's got to opt out, she's got to opt in,
Okay.
right? Otherwise, then we have to wait until tax time. But yeah, we've gotten that question from a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah, we have those questions all the time.
seems pretty cut and dry though. I think that, you know, part of this whole process was just understanding what this tax credit really is and how does it come. And in all honesty, I think that dealing with, or you know, it's just the thought of dealing with the IRS and oh God, I gotta go to a portal and I gotta go online. I don't even know how to use the internet. You know, I'm 33 and I barely, like, I'm just, you know, not that type of person. But in saying that, I will tell you that for me, the process was extremely easy.
Right.
I did not have any issues whatsoever. You know, I was fortunate enough that when I did my taxes, like my bank, all the information they already had.
So you just got it.
So yes,
Yeah.
and I was really surprised in knowing, I think statistically, I think that 86% of Americans, when the first round went out to the 35 million, 86% got it right away through
Right.
direct payment.
Right.
So that, I mean, I think that was really impressive, and there's something to say there.
Yep.
You know, that even if there is like confusion about it, there's nothing you have to do because everything is essentially already done for you.
That's the
I
idea.
think that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive, you know?
And as people opt in, then they're opted in. Then the next time, they're not gonna have to do anything. It's just the first time that you have to give them your information. How did you find out about it the first time? Remember?
Let's see. Yes, actually, I had to file my taxes,
Mhm.
and one of the regulars at the restaurant was like, "Oh, you better file quick! You better file quick! They're talking about this child tax credit, and you gotta go! You gotta go! You don't have much time left." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he explained it very vaguely to me, but in that moment, there was so much going on. All I heard was tax credit. You get money a month. Hurry up and do your taxes.
Right.
So I hurry up. I did my taxes, and then just recently, when a lot of buzz was going around about it, I really had the time to sit down and invest some well-needed attention to what is this? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family? Is this something I should, you know, take a look into? And is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to hurt me? Like what does this mean for me and my little girl? And again, after getting a better understanding of it and feeling really comfortable, you know, knowing what it is and knowing what it's going to do for my financial stability, I'm just very, very thankful. And again, I appreciate the way that it's being done. For me, it works. For me, the monthly payments is, in my head, a monthly solution.
Right.
That's, you know, it works for me.
That's,
I know it
that's a good
seemed,
line. That's very quotable.
yeah. That whole bit was very
Yeah.
I was just
quotable.
thinking, you could do a commercial.
I
Oh,
think,
thank
yeah.
you.
Actually, yeah, or run for office. I may need to.
But not right now.
No.
Give me a couple years. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the one thing I figured out from or I think I figured out, from the Zoom meeting the other day was they really seem to have come up with a lot of the possibilities. They really seem to have answered a lot of the possible questions. I even noticed when people were asking, the constituents were asking questions, they were pretty much already answered. In what, Hannah, how was her name, Catherine, pronounced?
Hannah, I think.
Yeah,
Kate Hannah.
I can spell it, but I still can't say it. She had answers, and pretty much even in her presentation beforehand, I mean, they seem to have,
Yeah, we can anticipate.
anticipated what possibilities there may exist, and I was very impressed with that myself. I mean, I'm not in a situation where I think of those kind of problems because I never had the problems. I never had kids. So I was very impressed that it really seems like everything was already accounted for.
So, what else? What else do we need to be doing? I mean, I think we all agree this is a good little thing that the government did, but,
Along with the pandemic EBC, that was a good thing.
okay.
As well.
But just going forward, I mean, we're hopefully, knock on wood, we're coming out of the pandemic,
Mhm.
trying to rebuild things. Biden talks about building back better, right? So we don't want to just go back to where we were. Let's take advantage of this painful crisis that we all went through together to try to do things better moving forward. What do you think the big needs are that are not met that you would want me to be focused on in Washington, where government can still do more, or if we're doing too much?
So I know everybody, the whole world is surfacing around higher wages and things like that. So, you know, that'll always be one of the top things at the list. But I do think that landlords are overpricing their properties. There needs to be some sort of cap as to how much a landlord could charge for rent and things like that to make it affordable, to make it match the wages that are earned in different areas and things like that. I know the more prominent areas like New York and things like that, they might be a little more pricier, but the wages should match the cost of living. So, and it doesn't. So I see properties now that are going for far more
Yeah.
than what a family can afford and what it should be priced at. So there should be some cap amounts. And even when a family receives benefits like Section 8 and things like that, it's very hard for a family to find a unit that falls under the Section 8 guidelines. So maybe making it where landlords can exceed those guidelines,
Right.
say, because those are supposed to be the amounts, I forgot exactly what it's labeled as, but
So affordable housing, yes.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, because
Do you live in Flemington?
I live in Phillipsburg.
Phillipsburg, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is one thing that is astronomical and definitely, if it's dealt with from the top, it would probably get more of a response from people, like a people to listen. And then childcare. So I know that working with kids is very sensitive. I know it is, but maybe 3 or 4 facilities in our area have closed. So access to childcare has been very, very, very hard. And it, from what I'm hearing, is very hard to acquire a childcare facility. Like, well, we don't want to change the standards, but we want to make people to understand how to access it or how to be able to do it and how to be able to have a successful facility. Because I think that's the problem, the getting started part. The fear is overwhelming, it's a lot, and instead of a one-on-one guide to be able to establish these facilities. So we're lacking in facilities and affordable housing.
Right. Okay. I hear you. Affordable housing is a big debate in all of these little towns, right? As you know, Walter, there's now a mandate. Every municipality in New Jersey has to provide a certain amount of units in affordable housing based on its population. But then there's a lot of resistance, especially in some of these rural towns in this area. Because people were able to change the character of the communities to have more dense apartment type housing. And so, like everything, it's a balance. Right? We love the way Hunterdon County looks and feels, and there's farmland and there's plenty of open space. What does the law in Hunterdon say, Michelle? It's 3 acres per residential unit, right? Because they want to, they want it to have this character for forever. But 3 acres per unit, like, you're not going to have affordable housing, right? And so they'll build affordable housing complexes on some large piece of land where it's kind of shared, the open space is shared. But that's a struggle that a lot of the local governments are facing. And then during the pandemic, everybody got hit. Tenants got hit, but so did landlords, right? Because we told them you can't evict people because they can't pay their rent, which is the right thing to do. But then some of our landlords are not like super rich multinational companies. It may be a family that owns 1 unit, and that's their income. And so we, figuring out how to balance all that stuff. But bottom line for me is that everybody who works for the living wage in this salary that you earn. And some of these programs that are meant to actually make work easier, everybody ought to be able to fulfill the needs and some of the wants. I love the way that you put that. I think that's a really important way for people to think about it.
The other thing that I know, there was some talk about that I completely agree with is, the federal income wage is what I believe they called it.
minimum
So
wage?
yeah, no, not the minimum wage. So like, with a family qualifying for family care, a family qualifying for, social services like, SNAP,
Right.
all of their guidelines are extremely low.
For New Jersey, they're like, yeah.
Yeah, so they need to be relooked at and readjusted to what income bracket is really still in poverty or considered poverty or
That's right.
considered low income or considered below income standards. So they need to be relooked at because you have a family who don't qualify for any other added benefits,
Mhm.
but they still can't survive.
Yes, and unfortunately, they don't take into account the regional cost of living. So it's basically the same for New Jersey as it is for Arkansas. Right? And that just makes no sense. You cannot live in New Jersey for the same wage that might be livable in some parts of the country where rent, food, and other things are cheap. So, yeah, we get the point on that. Anything else to add?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I was extremely surprised to do a little research and find that 3 million families, which included 800,000 children, were considered living in poverty in New Jersey. So I just find that extremely disheartening. And I just wanted to quickly add that as far as housing goes, it's interesting because there's this preconceived notion that individuals have, oh, you're a single mother, just apply and you'll get a house, or you'll get this, you'll get rental assistance. And by all means, it is, if anything, exactly the opposite. I'm in a really tough situation right now. I lost the love of my life September 22nd of last year, and we were looking at properties in Virginia, like I have our whole life planned, and after I suffered that great loss, okay, well now I'm back to just my income with the kid. What am I to do? And I tried reaching out for help. I tried social services to see, like, do I even have any options? Is there something like rental assistance for a single parent that doesn't, with my income, it's considered low income.
Right.
And I was shocked. I was shocked because there isn't much. There isn't anything. So that to me is extremely hard, and it was just, I can't tell you like how it's very, very, very hard. How am I supposed to save when all my money is going to daily living? How am I supposed to get her a roof over her head? As of right now, I'm 33 with a daughter living back in my parents' house because I don't know what else to do. It's not only not fair to me, that's not fair to my baby.
Right.
And I really would just, greatly appreciate this getting relooked at. They're telling me to sign up for a lottery that I might get picked if I'm lucky, and that's 4 years down the road. I don't have 4 years, And that's the other thing about me. I'm an extremely hard worker. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm not asking for a house with a picket fence. I'm just asking for some guidance. Please, give me just some assistance, some help. Even if it's just, the affordable housing is here, and maybe we can assist you with getting in. Maybe we work with these tenants, given your situation and you work and you're a great viable candidate, maybe we can help you get in this housing, but that's not the case. That I think needs to be looked at. Instead of people coming in from the outside towns coming in and they might get a house or they might get affordable housing right away. What about me? I live in this county. I love this county. I bleed for this county. I sweat for this county. What about me? That I think is
Where is the restaurant to look at?
Stony Brook Row in Branchburg.
Okay.
Oh, so you live in Hunterdon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't want to move out. I love the daycare my daughter's in. I love, I love the subsidy that I'm provided. I'm happy and I'm good with where I am. My family's here. I don't have anyone else. I just lost, someone, and I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to go to a place where, yes, maybe I can afford, but is it safe for my daughter? Is it good for my daughter?
So
No,
is
I want to stay here.
Is the problem that they're saying you're making basically too much now? to
No,
qualify, or just the lack of availability?
It's lack of availability. It's as soon as this affordable housing goes up, it's literally like boom, gone. I think that we should look at the people that actually live in this town and that need it, and that maybe are a great candidate. That's what I think needs to be looked at.
So what I learned with working within the Family Success Center, and I found myself to be very resourceful. Hunterdon County probably has far more properties than, say, like Warren County, that have affordable units inside their complexes. So I'm gonna give you my phone number,
Thank you. I
and
appreciate that.
I'm gonna help you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No. Sorry, I'm gonna help you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And, all of these, even when the government programs are there, like one of the things I've learned, I vote for some law, some bill, I'm like, great, look, we've done it. But there's so many more steps
Right.
to actually make sure that all the good ideas, or we think are good ideas that we vote for in Washington, actually translate into help that people can use practically in their daily lives. And, sometimes everybody's got different needs, right? We don't anticipate what they are. Sometimes just the whole system breaks down, like the unemployment system broke down during COVID. And so, that's why Michelle is my district director. Her life is basically just helping people with individual problems to try to access the benefits of the programs that we create. There are wonderful organizations like Northwest Cap that also are there to help. And I don't think there's anybody we would want to help more than somebody who's doing everything they can to make a better life for their kid, right? No one can ask you to do more than what you're doing right now. And so I think we are all inspired to try to make sure, on top of this little child tax credit, right, that we keep on figuring out how to make it easier for the folks who are earning it through hard work in the way that you guys so clearly are. So it helps me to hear the stories, I can visualize, and I take that back as we try to build on this, improve on it. But let's also make sure that person by person we're providing the help that we need. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
For having us.
Thank you.
Good.
Do you have
got Walter?
any kind of sense, I'm not asking you to predict the future, but
Sure
any
you
kind
are.
of sense about this? I'm sure people do. About making this permanent? You think there's a good chance of that, or?
We want to do it. So we have 2 planes we're trying to land in Washington right now.
Yes.
We've got this infrastructure bill,
Yeah.
and that's just for building things and fixing things, our trains, our roads, bridges. We want to build that railway tunnel between New Jersey and New York so that we can get more trains, more reliable trains going back and forth. And that's great. It'll create a lot of jobs. It'll be good for the economy. Second is this so-called budget reconciliation bill. In the U.S. Senate, we have this old stupid rule that says you got to get 60 votes basically out of 100 for anything, because the minority party gets to block things. Unless you get 60 votes, you can't pass anything. But there's another rule that allows you to pass things with just 50, with a simple majority, if it's related to the budget or taxes. And we get one shot to do that a year. So we're trying to basically stuff everything we want to do into this one budget bill. And that's, I hope we'll have a lot of money for childcare, relevant to what we've been discussing. But also a lot of stuff on climate change and the environment. But also would be the opportunity to to make some things permanent that we did in this COVID bill.
When is this bill suspected to go to Congress?
So we're writing it now.
Okay.
The infrastructure bill, we have an agreement with Democrats and Republicans. So we think we can get the 60 votes for that.
That's
That'd be
important.
good.
That's
Good to
very
have-
important.
Always good to have both sides together. This other one, it'll only be Democrats. And if we can get it done, I think we can, but it will require very liberal Democrats like Bernie Sanders to agree with more conservative Democrats like Joe Manchin. If they can come together, then we can pass this with 50 votes, and it will make the child tax credit permanent. As well as some other things we did in that COVID bill, like we had a provision that subsidized health insurance coverage under Obamacare for people who are getting their health care coverage on the individual market. Like if you're not getting good health care coverage from your employer, you have to go and basically get it through Obamacare on the website. The subsidies are now much more generous, so that nobody pays more than a certain amount of their income for health insurance. So, are you guys getting health care through the employer, or
I am.
I
You
go
are.
through the state.
you go through the state?
Yes.
Okay, so you may actually have benefited from this in terms of the premiums that you're paying. Are you paying pretty low premiums now?
Yes.
You are, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's something else we want to try to make permanent. Because all of that was done in that COVID bill, which was just an emergency bill, it was just for 1 year. So, okay, I think they want to get me out of here. But this was really interesting for me, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the
Yes.
time to hear us out
Yes.
and give us a voice.